Our mistakes can be our greatest allies. They can assist us in learning a great amount. So oftentimes we may think that we've stumbled or erred in some way, but there can be deep lessons in that. And so I was painting the other day. I made this painting, and I was going through and just kind of allowing it to come through. And I got to this point up here, and there was here, and I added like more up top. And when I first, after doing it, I looked at it and it seemed like a mistake. Like from my mind, I was like, oh, like something doesn't look right. It doesn't look right. Well, see, that's a judgment. We're being critical of the experience. And upon a further review of the painting, I do a form of art therapy, art interpretation. So I was observing the deeper symbolism at play. And so within this was there was lessons in the way it manifested. And so the point being, something that may seem like a mistake from the mind isn't always a mistake. That's our own judgment of the perceived experience. Though if we're able to see it with an open heart and an open mind, we can see purely the truth of the experience and see that some circumstance, some event, some action that we said, some words that we said, in the moment they may have seemed like a mistake and possibly we did err in some way. Though in the greater scheme of things, these mistakes carry a deep wisdom in them. And so you can learn to observe and see that what you thought originally was an error actually had a tremendous value for yourself and potentially for others as well. So my invitation is to observe your experiences openly and to not refine to one way of looking at it and say, oh, this is the way. If it doesn't look like this, then it's wrong. Encompass a greater understanding of a greater view, a bird's eye view, so to speak, of what is really going on here. What was the impulse that led to that action? What was the belief or story that I've created that led to that action? And through that, we can begin to see more clearly that everything that is unfolding is happening perfectly for us. Every person we interact with is simply a character playing a role so that we can learn and have an experience. And so honor them because they are giving you a gift. If they show up challengingly, they're giving you a gift. If they show up in blessing, they're giving you a gift. And realize through your perception of the experience, you can shape your own reality. So if we had a lot of challenging experiences early on in our life, then we can begin to develop a habit of having challenging experiences in the future. Though if we're able to pinpoint and see, well, why is this challenge coming up? What is this person here to teach me? What is this lesson? And be grateful, be like, wow, like they wore a very challenging mask to play this character, to play a role that maybe doesn't seem as pleasant, though that's another, judgment of the mind saying this is good and that's bad. So be aware of that as well. And that's, so observe, see what is really true. That's a good question to ask, is what is really true? Is this really true? Is my belief really true? And go in and observe, these experiences, these relationships, especially ones you've been hurt in, or there's you have anger, resentment, or anything towards people, and observe it and really recognize and be grateful. Because if we had a lot of challenges early on, and that's creating our reality moving forward, well, that's through our perception. So we can't change what happened in the past, but we can change how we perceive it. We could have an event where we say, oh, this person did that to me and that's wrong, and whatever story we have around that. And then if it was early enough, we can actually develop some pretty strong beliefs that oh, because this person did that, that means I'm X, Y, Z. So you develop a story because of that, then that means that I'm, people may say not worthy, or they may say, they're a problem for their environment, or whatever it is, what story that they come up with, that the world is not a safe place, or whatever it could be. And so you can go in and observe that and say, well, is that really true? It's well, no, the world's I feel pretty safe. I mean, depending on where you live, not everywhere in the world is safe, but most people, you have a structure over your head, and you have water, you have food, so I mean, you're pretty much good. You have people who love you, hopefully, and so you've been provided for. Things are pretty good actually. And so things are safe, if that's the case for you. And then what is it? The worthy, right? Okay, well, is that really true? Well, why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you be worthy? Of course, you're worthy. What are you even worthy of? And then, so go through and ask these types of questions and say, is that really true? And really sit with that and see, well, is it actually true? And then if it's, create a new belief and affirm that, hey, this is the new belief. And so, and then look at also where you have made potential errors, especially if that's in relationship. There is a tremendous value in reconciliation and communication of an error. So let's say you were hard with somebody, you're harsh in some way, then to go and clear the error, it would be to apologize and say, hey, I noticed that the way I communicated to you was not very kind or not very warm and considerate, or I was not connected to you, and I wanted to apologize because that is not the way that I want to represent healthy connection in my life. And you just let that person know that how you may have stumbled in that interaction. And oftentimes most people I've interacted with on that level are very receptive to that, and they're like, most of them will say like they weren't even that worried about it to begin with, and they'll be like, oh no, you're good, like. But it helps to clear the air. And you can also see how you may have a skewed perception, because maybe you did something to some person and then you think like, oh, like they don't like me anymore because of that. But if you go and you communicate in that way, oftentimes they're like, no, like it wasn't a big deal. I have no beef with you, no issue. And so you can really resolve any kind of miscommunication. And to carry off that a little bit, let's observe the mistakes of others, and allow them to err as well. So allowing space for ourselves to make errors and realizing that's part of our own development of becoming, entering into perfection. We have to stumble a little bit along the way, and same with others. And so allowing them space for errors. And one thing that's been really helpful for me in that regard has been to clarify always if there's a problem. So I was on one community, and I was cooking on a grill that was kind of in the communal area, and I would often share. There was children there, so I would share, and they loved the good meats and stuff. They were like, really good kids, and they loved just good food. So same with me. I mean, who doesn't like some good food? And so anyways, they'd come around when I'd be eating and be like, oh yeah, they know I had the good food for them. Anyways, so a man that was on the property, he was like, it said something very much, it was kind of weird in the tone. He was very busy at the moment, and he was like, there's a grill over by this other area, like why don't you go cook over there? And I was like, cool, like, all right. And then like he left as soon as he said that. So throughout the whole day, like I'm there and I'm working, and I'm like, well, what did he mean by that? Was he trying to say like there's a problem with me being there? And I had this whole story about how like he was mad at me for cooking in that area, whatever. Anyways, so later on I saw him in the evening, and I had already developed my whole little story about what he believed and thought. And I was like, hey, like earlier you mentioned about going to cook over there, and I just wanted to clarify what it is that you meant when you said that. And then he went on to say he just thought it would be more convenient for me. And then I was like, okay, so what about cooking at the other grill? And I was like, is that like a problem? And he was like, no, it's not a problem. If you like cooking over there, that's fine too. I just thought it'd be like more convenient if you cooked over there. So I was like, great. And so yeah, you can see how we might have a story, and by clarifying, we can see, if it was an error on our behalf, or in our perception of their, how we related, or maybe the other person made an error and they were actually trying to be mean to us or whatever, or just conveying a boundary, which is fine too. And so, yeah, it's a process, learning and seeing. And so realize that the errors are part of the beauty. If everything was perfect and cookie cutter and it all worked exactly the same and everyone looked the same and everyone had the same diet and everyone had the same gifts, it wouldn't be a very interesting experience. So, the way you look, right? Any like maybe there's a difference between the left side of your face and right of your face. Most people have that. Realize that is part of the beauty. If your face was perfectly symmetrical and looked like everyone else's faces, there would be no beauty to appreciate in the world. And so anything in your body, anything in your life, anything that's different or unique, a tree that grows in a certain unique way, or the way that you like to express yourself, and different nuances that you have, realize that all of these things are what makes you unique, and it is what makes you beautiful. And so the beauty is in the imperfection. Now, that being said, with these different areas of our life, we can observe and we can strive to show up better in a more pure and wholehearted way. And that's very much an organic process that as you start to move on your path will move through you naturally. So it's not something you have to strive so much for, but it does require some, honest self-awareness and self-reflection, and, to be honest with how we're showing up in our life, and honest with like, hey, is it really working? How is my beliefs around health really working? Does my body feel healthy? Do I actually seem healthy, or am I, you can observe your finances, right? Is my financial health healthy? How is my bank account? How is my, so look at these different areas, look at them objectively and say, is it really working? And so there is an aspect of improvement and growth. And that's where we can look at certain things we thought were a mistake and realize it's just a lesson to stand upon. So this has been an exploration of errors, and be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and we shall speak again.